And I know there's probably 10,000 product people listening to this call going, they should have thought about the customer.
Yeah.
So in this case, the customer would have been the breast imaging clinic or the radiologist. If you think too much about them, you end up devising products which just, they fit into the workflow, but they don't change the world. We want to change the world.
What would you say to someone right now who's in the sort of research or science field, thinking about going and following your path?
You are the believer in this. You're the one that has to step out and take it through. It is a scary, terrifying, exhilarating ride.
When I talk to founders, a lot of people say, I've had to sacrifice time away from my kids. How do you juggle that?
There's certain rules I always had. If one of the kids came in the office, I would always smile. No grimacing, no goes away. Come over here and sit on my lap.
This means that you can really be the company now just trying to solve breast cancer.
I have a motto which is failure is not an option. If I start something, it's going to succeed or we're going to die trying.
Hey everyone, Troy Hammond here. Thanks for joining us here on the We Fucking Love Startups podcast. Today's episode is an absolute joy to do. I'm a very proud Wellingtonian, and so we've got Ralph Highnmam on the podcast. Ralph is the founder and former CEO and former Chief Science Officer, transitioned into the Chief Science Officer role before he moved on from his business, which is Volpara, one of the absolute darling success stories of Wellington, and a cracker of a guy. So enjoy this episode. He's such a cool guy and he shares his story in intricate details. And so I hope you enjoy it. For everyone that's watching and listening, there's like tens of thousands of people now and it's phenomenal. Jono and I just cannot fathom how many of you are watching. What we can fathom though is the amount of people that are subscribing. And so we really want to get those subscriber numbers up. We've got heaps of people watching. All we're asking you to do is if you're watching this episode, you liked it, jump down below, follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, on whatever platform that you're listening to, and just help us to keep lifting the quality of the production and the guests and the locations that we can go to and speak to these wonderful humans like Ralph. And so enjoy this episode.
Kia ora. Thanks for tuning in to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast, brought to you by Talent Army.
Like when you went Wellingtonian of the Year, talk me through that feeling, like as a guy from Luton moving to Wellington and as an Aussie, who also moved to Wellington. Wellington's my home and I'm really proud of Wellington. I've been here 16 years. And so to see someone like yourself winning that, like I felt watching that, it must have been a pretty cool moment for you and your family and everyone that you've worked for before and shared the ride with. But talk me through that feeling of you just sitting there and then when it happened.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing night. The whole build up to it, and I'd sort of been to some of these events before, and you always assume you're not going to win. And we were told that everyone's going to have their photos on the big screen. It was being hosted at the embassy, so. Because of that, I actually said to my wife, why don't we take the kids down? Because they'll get to see them on the big screen. So we're all there having fun watching their photos on the big screen, totally not expecting to win anything. And then I always remember that we were coming up and the person who was presenting the award started talking about breast cancer. And my little boy, Danny, is just poking me in the side going, Daddy, it's you. Daddy, it's you. And I just felt an incredible sense of pride that we got, and it really is testament to, to be honest, it's a testament to Wellington. Yeah, it's a testament to all the people that have helped serve me coffee over the years during the start phase. The cafes that have fed me, high quality software engineers that come out of the banking industry that have helped us write high quality software. The people from Weta or associates of Weta who knew about images and AI that came in and really helped us do the AI for breast cancer detection. Really for me, it was an incredible testament to all of those people. But also, as you touched on there as well, Troy, I am now a proud Wellingtonian, or a proud Lutonian, and a proud Wellingtonian, and it was just an immense sense of pride getting awarded that. And if you look at the names that have come before, and I'm sure the names that go after, people like Richard Taylor, Ardia Severe, and so on, it's just like, it's just staggering. And I think also for the tech industry, I think it's great as well.
Yeah, I think there's like Wellington's a small city, and in a small country on the other side of the world. And there's so many people doing cool stuff in Wellington, and I adore how Wellingtonians get behind each other and support each other to make this, almost 500,000 population feel like 10 million at times. And so, yeah, it's great. Well, hey, you've had a lot of news recently.
Yep. We'll touch on that again in a second.
Yeah. But yeah, that must have felt like a pretty cool moment with your son.
Yeah, obviously startups are very hard. I had my son at the start of Volpara. So 2009, Danny came in and we talked about, is it a good time to do another start? And we said no, but when is? So let's just get on and crack on and do it.
Yeah.
So we had Danny at the same time as Volpara. So he's seen me work incredibly hard, long hours, all the way through. So yeah, it was great at that moment with Danny, especially because he's seen it. But all the way through there, Troy, I had certain rules I always had. For example, if one of the kids came in the office, I would always smile. Never ever, no grimacing, no goes away. Come over here and sit on my lap, Danny or Jodie.
Why did you make that decision? Like, was it something that you'd seen or something that happened? Or
Yeah, well, you always hear about start founders being kind of almost divorced from families and the wife and stuff like that. So I just said almost from the start, kids come first, family come first as much as you can. And yeah, if they're going to interrupt a call, I don't care. If they're walking in, they're going to smile, they can come sit on my lap. I did one great call. It was 11 p.m. one night. We had a big call with GE over in France. Danny had been up all night crying. I was holding him. My wife was trying to get some sleep. His nappy was leaking everywhere. So I was walking around, nappy leaking, this excrement all over me, fundamentally, talking on the phone to GE. But I wasn't mad at him. It was just, that's part of it. I didn't tell them. I still, I don't think they knew yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you have someone on the other side of the line that has kids, though, instantly they're just like, hey, shit happens, right? Kids first.
Yeah, no, exactly. But at the same time, there's other decisions where, we've talked about it as a family and you've had to say, okay, look, risk benefits here for the family. Daddy, you've got to go. Like to Australia sometimes. You've got to go talk to those investors or got to go to Chicago to the big trade shows and so on.
Yeah, I think that's when I talk to founders. A lot of people talk to say, I've had to sacrifice a lot, to build this other child of mine, which is this business, and so I've had to sacrifice time away from my kids and partner. How do you juggle that? Like, what do you?
Yeah, no, it's certainly. I mean, that is just a fact of life, and I think especially in the early years. I was around, but not really around. And I remember one of our directors talking about this as well, the way his kids grew up. One of his big regrets was he was around, but never really engaged with them. So I always try to engage with them and be interactive with them. But at the same time, accepting that it was going to be tough. I was going to be away. When I was away, I was always texting them, emailing them, trying to catch them, talk to them, all that kind of stuff. Try not to step into things like buying presents, because we decided that if you start buying presents for them every time you go away, then they kind of almost look forward to you going away to get a present.
And as a startup founder, you don't usually have much cash flowing around to.
Yeah, that's certainly true as well. So, but I'm very, very happy with the way our kids have grown and developed, and it's great that they share the pride, I think, in Volpara and Volpara's mission. And it's great when something like the Wellington of the Year comes along, because it kind of cements it a little bit, and then they see you in the newspapers and stuff, and it's like, Daddy, look, that's you. Yeah. And their friends talk to them as well, and they get they get a bit of the buzz as well.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids. Everything I do is for my kids, and I think if my kids could see me winning an award like that one day in the future, I think there'd be nothing greater than. There's no millions, there's no anything that would give me more pride than making my kids happy. Hey, so let's go back a bit though, because obviously you grew up in Luton, and so studied math in university. How did you get into breast cancer? Like, what was the moment for you that you were like, this is something that I'm going to focus on my life?
Yep. So I'll tell you a bit of a story there, because I think it is good for people to hear. I did maths. I was good at maths at school. That was like the only thing I was good at school, maths and computing. I scraped into university to do maths, and I only scraped into university because I was in a lift on the way out after another disastrous interview because I wasn't a good interviewer at all. And I started talking football to one of the interviewers in the lift, and he was like, okay. I swear to God, that's why I got into university. Scraped through the first year with kind of D's, and then various things happened which meant I couldn't actually complete the exams. That was a big shock. And then they said, look, you can go through, but you have to really up your game. From there, I decided, well, I'm fairly smart, but you know what I can really do? Work bloody hard. So I worked bloody hard and kind of got A's the rest of the way. I come out with a first in maths from Brunel. But that's just pure 24 hours a day hard work, which was perfect for the start world later. I didn't know what to do though. Yeah, the reason I did maths because I didn't know what to do. Then a computing course came up in Oxford, and I thought that sounds interesting, so I went and did the computing course. It turned out that was really important for me in my career because it was all about mission critical software. How do you write software which doesn't crash? So if you're building a space rocket, you don't want a bug in that software. Equally, if you're doing software to detect breast cancer, you don't want a bug that starts to maybe put signs of breast cancer into the image and so on. So that course really kind of gave me a really good theoretical understanding of how to do safety critical software. Finished it, did very well, didn't know what to do. Someone said, why don't you try a PhD? I started a PhD and it was almost like a duck finding water. I was like, I didn't know what research was at that point. And suddenly I was like, this is what research is. And you know what, I'm actually pretty good at it. Digging into things, finding out stuff, very deep analysis, working out solutions to problems. So I really enjoyed research, but back then it was all about autonomous vehicles. And that was one of the first AI hype waves going through. That bored the pants off me. So I said to this guy, Professor Sir Mike Brady, look, I want to use my maths, I want to do my computing, but I'm not going to do this autonomous vehicle stuff because it's just boring. And he said, look, my mother-in-law's just been diagnosed with breast cancer. Breast cancer screening is proven to work, but I'm convinced that using AI, you can improve breast cancer screening. As soon as he said it, it was like, ding. I was like, wow, I could do research, which I was really enjoying. I can use all that maths and computing, and I can learn all about the breast cancer, and the whole kind of psychology and physiology and biology all around that. So it was like, a real opportunity to learn and just.
And you were thinking commercial, then not academic?
No, that was academic. So I was very academic back then. But so we got into the breast cancer work. As Mike will tell you, it was very hard to get funding for it back then. And it was hard because back then it was all pure AI in the first AI wave going through. So if you didn't do AI, you wouldn't get funded. And our approach was based on a really thorough understanding of the breast. What are the breast tissues? How do breast X-rays interact with breast tissue? And that kind of viewpoint, not just get me data, apply AI and get a result. So we were very kind of on the edge of this breast cancer kind of AI kind of wave.
And very early, right?
And very early, yeah. So it's hard to get funding. And in that period, I got really frustrated because I could see these other people getting funding because they were doing sort of trendy research. And back then it was AI hype, so they'd do one AI paper, get one result, do another AI paper, basically get the same result but publish again. So I saw these academics just publishing the same stuff, and it was like, this stuff is never going to work in the clinic. Why are they bothering doing it? And that drove me eventually to say to Mike, look, I want to do a spin out. All this stuff that we've got, I'm convinced will work in the clinic. All this other stuff, all this academic stuff, all the money's going to these academics that are just kind of caught in this loop of repeat to get more papers. And the more papers you get, the more grant money you get. Whereas, I actually want to do stuff that works. One of my skills, I think, is doing AI or computer vision that actually works in clinics. So that drove me to the startup world. We did that, and
you didn't start with the breast though.
We did. In 1999, we started with breast.
Yeah.
And, we had about a year or two later, though, we'd also recognised some IP within Oxford around the head and brain. And we said, look, the breast stuff has been our life for the last 10 years, but the market's not ready for it. So we focused on the brain and the lung work for several reasons. We were very successful at that, and we sold the company to Siemens in 2003, which was when I came to New Zealand. And my wife is a Kiwi, and she had to come back to finish off her medical degree here in sunny Wellington. So I said, okay, I'm going to come with you, and we'll see how things play out.
What year was that, sorry?
That was 2003.
Oh, yeah.
So
And she's from Wellington?
she's from Wellington.
Had you been here before?
No, not at that point.
What was your instant thoughts on Wellington?
We just spent 6 months travelling through South America. All the dangers of South America and the fun of South America. The waterfalls, most dangerous bike ride in the world in Bolivia. The most dangerous thing we did in the whole 6 months, land in Wellington.
Yeah.
We're coming in. It's a huge southerly, or northerly. It was big northerly. Plane took 3 attempts to land. Everyone's vomiting, apart from me, I should add. Everyone's vomiting. It was one of those ones where plane comes in and the pilot goes, okay, we're not going to make it, we're going back up, and the whole plane goes, ugh. Then the 4th time he comes through and just slams it down.
Yeah, welcome to Wellington.
Welcome to Wellington, yeah.
I reckon Wellington normally does it the opposite way around. It normally like lulls people into a false sense of security. Like when I came here for the first time, it was like 25 degrees and beautiful, and you can't beat it on a good day. And then my wife was like, "Should we go back and live in Wellington?" And I was like, "Oh, Wellington, yeah, that place is beautiful. Let's go there." And then you get here and it's sideways rain and the wind's knocking you about. But
I actually really enjoy that though.
yeah, I love it now. But my first impression of Wellington when I got here was, how quickly can I go back home to Melbourne?
Yeah.
And then,
but I have to say, my 6 months in Melbourne, there was a lot of rain.
Yeah,
it was winter. Yeah. It was a lot of rain.
But you only have to wait 4 hours, and then it'll change in Melbourne.
Yeah.
What is it about Wellington for you? Because like you are a really passionate Wellingtonian. What is it about Wellington in particular that you love?
I love. Yeah, we spent 10, 15 years in Oxford. We love just being able to walk and bike everywhere. In Wellington, we're very lucky to live in Mount Victoria. You can just walk and bike everywhere. So it's 5 minutes to the Greenbelt, 10 minutes to walk down here to the CBD, whatever it is, 10 minutes down to the beach and stuff. You could and that feeling of being able to get outdoors and into the hills within minutes, it's just, what other capital city in the world can you do that in? Or major city, just walk out the door, go up a big hill and kind of be in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Very few places in the world.
I know that feeling went too well. I was on Hawker Street, and so for a long time, and whenever I had a bad day as an entrepreneur, I'd just walk up the hill there and just sit up there and look out over the skyline. And
yeah, no, exactly. I remember telling Jenny Morrell, she said, what do you do for stress? I said, well, I'll go up there in a big southerly and just walk along the ridge line and just have the southerly smack me around a bit, and you come to, and life is good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And the southerly blows through and it's blue skies like it is today.
No, indeed. So how was it? What was the difference between setting up a company in the UK versus setting up a company in Wellington?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the company in the UK was a spin out of the University of Oxford, so that came with a lot of baggage because the University of Oxford at that stage was not that commercial. Commercial was still like a dirty word, and
was it a joint venture with the university and yourselves commercially?
It was, yeah. So that meant Oxford bureaucracy to get sign-offs and then dealing with their anti-risk profiles as well when you kind of get going. And we actually found it very hard to raise money, but this was 2000, so it might well have changed now, but 2000, so it was very hard to raise money. That was the first big wave, though, it was kind of AI, but also there was a lot of the whole .com stuff and the .com crash as well. So we were saying, look, we want to do all this serious stuff on breast cancer, but that wasn't, how did that compare to a .com that was promising $2 billion valuations and stuff like that?
You're selling dog food on a website or something?
Yeah, so the whole setup, it wasn't well advanced. It was very hard to raise money and so on. Whereas in Wellington, when we decided, so I lived here for 6 years. In 2009, I sat down with Professor Mike Brady and we said, now's the time to actually bring all that technology for breast cancer.
Why was the time right then?
A couple of things. One, breast X-ray had gone digital. So before then it was on film. And so to do AI, you had to digitize the film. So that was a huge extra expense. But two, there was enough clinical evidence now around what we wanted to do that led women in America in particular then to start saying, every time we want an X-ray, we want to know our breast density. And in my PhD really was about measuring breast density in the best way. So yeah, we started to feel this real clinical pull and demand. And I remember sitting with Mike about this, and we said, look, we have the technology to do this. Women really need it now. The clinical evidence is there. We also have a duty now to actually go back and do it. We did it in Wellington. At that point, we could have done it anywhere in the world. Could have done it in America, which is the big market. Could have done it back in the UK, but we chose here because the regional council or regional development agency was called Grow Wellington back then, was very, very supportive. And they had an excellent IP lawyer who really helped us kind of sort out a couple of IP things, get some IP patents moving, because you have to do that in medical devices. Even though I'd done startups before and done well out of them, these little grants of 10, 20,000, even from the council, just kind of gave you the confidence to slowly but surely get moving again in that direction.
Did you self-fund it in the early days, apart from these grants? Or?
We did, yeah. So self-fund, and Mike Brady and myself put cash into it and so on.
Yeah.
And then as we got going, we went back to the investors in my first company. They invested. And we ended up bringing Sir John Hood on as chairman. Sir John Hood he's a Kiwi who ran the University of Oxford for a while, and he was moving to New York, so he had a great kind of Kiwi, Australia, New York link and UK link, but also had international networks. So John joined the board. John helped us raise, I think, a couple of million. And he brought on an investor from Sydney called Roger Allen, who was totally focused on the mission. Yeah. Breast cancer, the mission.
So for people listening that know Volpara but don't actually know what the technology does, can you break it down for them?
Yep. So we very much focus on breast X-rays. That has been our bread and butter. So a woman walks in to have a screening. And in New Zealand, for example, every 2 years, a woman goes to have her breast cancer, or screened for breast cancer, between the ages of about 45 and 70. When she comes in, her breast is squeezed between two plates, so she doesn't move. X-rays are then shot through the breast, and that creates an image. And it's from that image which radiologists look at to try and diagnose breast cancer. So they might see small white dots, which can be the first signs of breast cancer. But the overall kind of pattern of the breast makes on that image is what is called breast density, which roughly correlates to the percentage of the breast which is fibrous or glandular tissue as compared to fat tissue. Cancers form in fibroglandular tissue. So the more of that you've got, the bigger the probability that part of it might go wrong and you might develop cancer. So Volpara's first product was all about measuring breast density and measuring the amount of fibroglandular tissue. And we did that by applying AI and computer vision to these breast X-rays, which were digital by then.
Yeah.
That's how we started. And then as time went on, we developed new products. So, for example, we worked out how to optimize the compression. So we were able to say to the people doing the X-rays, you've overcompressed the breast, the image isn't very good anymore, and the woman's felt so much pain she's never coming back. Or you've not compressed the breast enough, the image is poor, you need to retake it. So we moved on from breast density to optimizing breast compression, and then more lately as well, judging quality of the image. So for example, if obviously left and right breast, if they come up and you notice that the left breast, the nipple isn't in profile, then you can ask them to retake it whilst the woman is there using our software.
Awesome.
So we become all about really automating quantitative measurements of the breast for breast density, for automated image quality, and more recently for breast cancer risk as well. Being able to say to women, you're at very high risk of breast cancer. Why don't you get screened every year instead of every 2 years? Or why don't we do additional imaging on you instead of just X-ray every year?
And is that all women can do, is just continually to monitor just to see if chances, like if signs pop up?
Obviously, women from a very early age should be, the term is self-aware now of the breast. Mm-hmm. So any big changes in the breast or any discharge from the nipples or lumps in the breast, they should be going to get checked out. But when they get to screening age, it really is the best every 2 years in New Zealand come through and have X-rays done. Mm. But if you are high risk, they will then say X-ray. Okay, we're going to do MRI on you as well, just in case.
I assume that your largest customer base is obviously in the North American, market. It would have been a lot easier for you to set up a business, in the US from day one and be there. Mm. How do you think, as guys who are based out of, Wellington or New Zealand, that you were able to grow so well into the US? So
we started here because the ecosystem was very supportive, mm-hmm. Which was great. And we probably were one of the first Skype companies. So there was me, Mike Brady in Oxford, Nico Karsmeyer in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, and Martin Yaff over in Toronto. Those guys were all professors. So we were very sort of Skype driven. I also really liked the fact that the Kiwis we found, so we started employing people. Kiwis like to work. Mm. They like to do really good, solid work, but they also like their lifestyles, right? Mm. So I actually believe that we actually got a real competitive advantage by having people who worked for us in a sustainable way. So, we saw American companies come in to try and compete with us. They would spend 70 million and they would burn out after 2 years because medical takes a long time to do anything. So we saw these companies come in, burn out and go, whereas we were just always very sustainable. We also found we could get AI engineers and high quality software engineers here in Wellington at probably half or 1/3 the rates of America. Mm. So, for all those reasons, there was a lot of cost reasons for being here and sustainability for being here and quality reasons for being here. I also like the fact that we were I actually like the fact we were slightly out of market. And I think some of the skills that certain people in our company had were sitting in here and we read everything that's going on in the world about breast cancer. Mm-hmm. We read it, digest it, look at it this way, that way, this way, and we really analyse it. And I think that really helped us, just the way we were thinking about how to deal with breast cancer. And just going back to my whole approach to AI and that safety critical thing as well, we were very focused on safety critical AI all the way through. And
do you want to explain safety critical AI for people that don't know what
that is? So everyone knows nowadays generative AI hallucinations. I mean, there's been some shocking examples over the last couple of days. Yeah. Imagine using AI now to diagnose breast cancer and it comes up and says, there's a cancer in this breast, just here, very high risk, get it taken out now, when in fact there's not a cancer. Yeah. Or, say an image comes in and it comes up and says, there's no cancer here, go home relaxed. And then, she goes home, has a shower, finds a lump, and it turns out to be advanced breast cancer. So you want to avoid all of that. So you want the power of AI, but it has to be applied in a really safety critical way. And again, I think that ability to sit back and think about stuff was really vital to Volpara's success. Our whole approach to breast cancer diagnosis was very kind of technical, very physics-based, very biology-based. So the products we brought to market, there was no reimbursement codes, so there was no money for people to use it. There was no cost-benefit analysis at all when we first started coming out. But this was critical information for the woman. Okay, so again, being out of the US, we really focused on what is right for the patient, not who the customer is. Mm. And I know there's probably 10,000 product people listen to this call going, they should have thought about the customer.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think too much about the customer, so in this case, the customer would have been the breast imaging clinic and the radiologist. If you think too much about them, you end up devising products which just, they fit into the workflow, but they don't change the world. We want to change the world. So we took a very physics, biology-based approach. You come out with these tools which were great for the patient. And we always believed, and it's still a core belief of mine, that if this is good for the patient, the commercial models will come in. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, on breast density, for example, the commercial models come in, and the insurers started saying, okay, if you've got high breast density, then you can do this extra imaging. And every time they do that extra imaging, the breast clinic will get more money. Mm. So suddenly there's a financial reason for them. So it's not only is it good for the patient, there's a financial reason for them to actually do this as well. Mm. But we did that, I think, by being in New Zealand, listening to radiologists, and we listened to all of them, but really focused on what is good for the patient, and that really come through.
Growing into the US takes a lot of money, and especially in the medical field with HIP compliant and everything that you need. And you've got an interesting sort of capital raising story, and obviously you went down the ASX path. And so I'm quite keen to underpick, like, how did you go about that? Why did it come about? And then talk me through the process. And I've heard you tell this story before, so it's quite a cracker.
Yeah. So we talked about raised the 1 or 2 million. A couple of years later, we were having to raise again, and we were starting to open up the US. And one of the things we've learned over time is in medical, you focus on the US. Focus on the FDA, focus on all that. That's where you want to focus, but it costs a lot of money as well. If you're going to go into the US, you do it properly. There's no point messing around. One of the things Volpara did right early on was we brought on a business development guy who could talk to key opinion leaders, start building up almost the Volpara brand. But at the same time, you could get 1 or 2 sales in. So, I see so many other companies come through and they put US salespeople directly, think, okay, FDA clearance, 5 salespeople, sell. Mm-hmm. But, any new product, especially in medical, it takes a long time to start selling.
How early did you hire this person?
2000, so we started in 2009, we'd have brought him on about 2011, so a couple of years later. Yeah. So we got FDA clearance, we brought on the biz dev guy, and then you start bringing on the salespeople once you kind of got a story, you understand how it works in the clinics and so on. Mm. But we need to raise more money. I mentioned Roger Allen earlier. He was an Australian. He knew about the ASX, and he'd sort of talked to us a little bit about it before, but not a lot. Then we engaged, or we got to know, and again, Wellington or New Zealand, we were very lucky to have a guy called Dave Murray come and join us as CTO. Mm-hmm. He was up in Tauranga. He flew down and come down and lived in here. One of the great stories about Volpara is, we jumped the whole market when it comes to, there was no SaaS in medical, and there was no one on the cloud in medical in 2016. But Dave Murray one day just showed me what you could do on the cloud using Microsoft Azure and then this product, and I said, holy shit, Dave, that's beautiful. We need to do that. And again, all the product people were probably thinking, oh my God, why didn't they go and talk to the customers and stuff in the US before they did that? Yeah. But there was a gut feel thing, and our sales team hated it. They were like, we can't sell the cloud because of information security, But, after 2 years, everyone's...
That's early, like in medical, SaaS in the health industry, right? That's very early.
Yeah, but we work with Microsoft. We've got all the badges, all the certifications. Customers start to trust us, and we moved on the cloud, and we were one of the first ones, and that gave us a huge competitive advantage later on.
Mm. You talked about gut feel a lot, like over the times that I've seen you talk. How have you learned to trust your gut, or how have you developed that ability to just say, I can do this and move forward?
I do analyze stuff from all angles all the time.
Because it's kind of like gut feel and research science.
I think one of the things you learn, and actually I remember at the start of Volpara, or even the start of Mirada, which was my first company, was, you can analyse the hell out of this, but until you get going, you just don't know. So, and always have this sort of saying, just shut your eyes and kind of do it. Every now and then, just shut your eyes and just step and just get going. Which is it's a very sassy thing, right? Don't overanalyze it. Try and get out there and
Ship it.
Try it, see what happens. But yeah, we jumped the whole market thanks to Dave and so on. But then turns out Dave was best mates with Neil Craig of Craig Partners up in Tauranga. And one day Neil come down to visit us in Wellington. We were talking, and we said, look, we're going to look for money. He said, well, we'll raise 5 million for you. And the idea was raise 5 million, and then we'd consider doing an IPO at some point down the road. And so we raised it. We started to get more and more sales in the US. We started to see this whole SaaS thing starting to move.
So the 5 mil all came from Neil, or
yep,
yeah,
and retail investors across New Zealand. Part of our story as well is, and we're incredibly thankful for the support we've had from mums and dads across New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah,
but also Harbour Capital as well here in New Zealand. Very strong supporters. 5 million, so we start to run down the money as you do it doing medical. The revenue's going up, so we're all pretty positive. And then there was a conversation at some point, and someone said, "Look, we're going to list, aren't we?" And we were like, "Well, we only said we were going to consider listing." And I go back and I look at all the documentation, and the documentation says, well, I'll consider listing in a couple of years' time. But I was persuaded by the board at that point that, we probably should list. And, to me, it's, it was kind of interesting because...
what was the reasoning from the board to list? Was it purely capital raise?
It was just realising that we need, in the medical space, you need tens of millions to really go global and really make it big. And that kind of money wasn't available in the New Zealand ecosystem back then. Things have changed now, but certainly back then it wasn't. We also recognise, or we learnt pretty quickly, that the ASX has got a very strong biotech scene. There's lots of biotechs on the ASX with like zero revenues and stuff, with very good valuations. And the ASX was in a period of lots of new IPOs, lots of new stuff going on, so it was very open. I had absolutely no clue what listing meant or what being a publicly listed CEO meant, any of that stuff. I think I mentioned the other day, to me that was, publicly listed CEOs are always posh, very well spoken, been to Eton or something.
$10,000 suits and...
all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure that's me. I think I did actually try and get out at one point, but one of the guys we were talking to was, as potential CEO, we sort of named a number, which was very high, and we were like, no, maybe I'll do it. Because we can't afford that. But and then just come back to networks. I was talking to Jenny Morrell, who's obviously quite big in New Zealand.
Yeah, I love Jenny.
She mentioned she'd got to know this guy John Diddams over in Sydney. We got a call with John. It was like, and he just he's an accountant by training, but he knows the ASX inside, outwards, and backwards. And he just talked us through the whole listing process, and it was like, okay, that actually sounds doable.
What's the too long didn't read version? The short combined versioning of how you list.
Of how you list?
Yeah,
there was about a 6 month lead in from October through to April. And there was just a huge amount of due diligence, tracking down every single contract we've ever done, making sure it was signed, making sure the IP was all signed up, making sure all the revenue, you're getting all the accounts audited. One of the good things about Volpara actually was our accounts got audited from day one. That was a great case. I look back and like, that was a pain in the arse. It cost us 10, 15K each year back then. And I was always pissed off at the CFO or part-time CFO. I was like, why are we doing this? But when it comes to listing, it was like...
Perfect.
Perfect. But so, you go through all that stuff, contracts, you have to go and get contracts signed or IP documents signed or patents signed. You have to go back to customers, make sure that they did pay and all this kind of stuff. And then you have to put together a prospectus as well, which is... how much you're going to raise, all the risks. You have a huge risk thing because you're going to be selling to retail shareholders. How you're going to spend the money and so on. And just a big explanation of all about breast cancer market and stuff. So, there's just a huge amount of paperwork, legal stuff to do. I think we budgeted $1 million to list. I'm not sure if it cost us that much in the end, but that was the kind of number. We were very lucky because we had John Diddams to hold our hands, the Kendrick lawyers just along the road there. Very, very pragmatic. We had very pragmatic lawyers in Sydney as well. And we had good kind of accountants and auditors to come in and clean stuff up as well.
And how much were you looking for? How much are you looking to raise?
Yeah, we were looking to raise 20 million. But at that point we had a revenue of about 2 million. And the revenue was going down because we were converting from capital to SaaS. Okay. That wasn't a good look on the ASX to have revenue going down. But again, in the biotech world, having any revenues is kind of a positive thing. So, we looked to raise 20. We actually found it very hard to get any momentum. I look back now and the whole story we were telling, obviously very mission based, and that was our first real attempt at selling a story to public investors. We started finding investors who were very knowledgeable about breast cancer for various reasons, like their wife had breast cancer or their daughter had breast cancer. And it was those people that really started coming on board. And although we were trying to raise 20, we ended up with 10. We took that with a view to, okay, we're going to list, we're going to prove the SaaS model, we're going to increase our revenues, and 6 months' time we'll go back for the next 10. I think I showed you the departure card, come away from Sydney. Going back to the kids, I rang the bell on the ASX with my kids. That was amazing. Although I had to give a speech afterwards, and I was holding my little girl Jodie, and she was quite heavy at that point. So trying to hold the kid who's squirming all over the place and give a public speech to 100 people. I'm not sure how well that went. But that came. Departure cards back then from Australia always ask you, are you bringing any money out of Australia? So we're at 10 million. The custom guy was a bit confused, but we tried to explain it to him, and he kind of eventually said, "Look, just go." So that was good. But and then we went back in 6 months' time. We got a few great deals over the line in that period, and we went back and raised another 10 million. But even in there, there's some kind of good SaaS stories. And we used to be capital sales, and your capital was always you do one big deal for a few 100,000, and then everyone would relax. And and I kind of love the SaaS model because you've got more money. But on the other hand, as a CEO,
it's constant.
Suddenly now you're paranoid about getting the deal, and suddenly you're paranoid about losing the customer as well. It's like, okay, double the stress. And I remember one big deal.
I imagine you would have had light churn though, right? Is it in the health profession SaaS? If someone adopts something, they're going to see it through for a period of time, I imagine.
They are, yeah. But some stuff we were doing, back to earlier conversation, because we were so new in what we were doing, and a lot of it is subjective. So you're measuring something. We're saying one thing. Let's say there's a clinic with 5 doctors. We might agree with 3 of the doctors, but the other 2 might be outliers. And if they're noisy outliers and they're objecting to our scores, there's a lot of noise and you can get churn. But I remember one big deal we got. It was an excellent deal. And because it was a big deal, we announced it to the ASX. But then sort of 2 weeks later, they were complaining like hell, and the whole cloud deployment was too slow. This is 2016, right? So the internet was all right back then, but we were transferring big images around, and they're complaining. I just remember the stress back then.
Were you compressing the videos back then?
I think we were, yeah. So we were trying to reduce it down, but it was still slow. So, and obviously, as a public listed CEO, you've announced that deal. If they'd have cancelled at that point, in that case, we sent someone up to Canada. worked closely with them, and even now, like 10 years later or 12 years later, they're still one of our best customers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there's that sort of stress period. So we got those deals in, and then we went back and raised the other 10 million. And I think I mentioned the other day, we tried to raise it. I won't go over to Sydney, get over there, and this is 2016, and I'm trying to talk to all these investors, and there's just Donald Trump all over all the screens, and no one knows what's going to happen. It's like Donald Trump is winning the US election. What is going to happen? We did not manage to raise much that day. Yeah. So went back a few weeks later. Again, I mean, this is a great family story, right? It was this 7.8 Kaikoura earthquake. I'm due to fly out 6 a.m. to Sydney for a day meeting to raise that 10 million, and we need that money by that point. Kids are up all night. We're under the doors with the earthquake, and the whole house is shaking away. So no one sleeps. But I remember talking to my wife. We were like, look, this is ASX. It's public listing, and if you don't go to Sydney, these guys might lose confidence in Wellington and Wellington companies. So it's a case of, right, I have to go, and that was a family decision, and I felt very guilty. But we went and we raised the money. So
do you encourage more people to list, or?
I do. I mean, going back to my experience in the UK, that was very hard to raise money there. I actually come in here. I actually see the ASX as being almost US style VC available to New Zealand companies. Last few years, it's been closed. It goes through closed and open periods. But if you're a biotech or life sciences, I would always look over there. Yeah. And going back to one of my themes again, I mean, it's amazing to me how Wellington companies got access to that. But you don't have to be super smooth. If you're authentic, you do have to get on with Aussies. I know you're an Aussie, and you have to, develop that kind of ability as well. Just
shorten your words. That's all you do.
Shorten your words. Perhaps swear a lot. That kind of stuff. Yeah. And to recognise that Australians are they like to gamble, and a lot of people said to us, look, we give a lot of money to charity. I actually love investing into you guys because it's almost like kind of giving to charity, but I actually might get money back as well. So they kind of felt good about the mission, but also they might get money back. And most of our investors made a lot of money over the years. Yeah,
that must feel good though, right? When you, as a startup founder, and you're asking people for money, and you've got this vision in your head that I think we can do this. Like, I think we can do this. And then that dopamine that you get when people back you in the early days and believe you, at least, or they believe you, but then to return that money later to them must be phenomenal.
No, that's great. And I've done it twice now, and you do get that. What was the word? Dopamine. Yeah, but to be honest, I don't get that. But I have a motto which is failure is not an option. If I start something, it's going to succeed, or we're going to die trying, basically.
I love that though. I absolutely adore that. I wish more companies thought like that.
But then going back to money, you take that money off people, and it's a huge responsibility. So you kind of get a little bit of that hit. But equally, it's a huge responsibility. And if you're in that failure, it's not an option mode. It's like, right, we're doing this now, and we have no choice. But
was there a moment in your career that you can think of that you thought, I fucked up and I failed now? Like, this is the moment that we could be fucked?
Yep, but... And there's been lots of sleepless nights. Yeah. And, at various points, for example, I mean, that one we just talked about where the cloud customers started complaining about the cloud and started to threaten to cancel the subscription. It's like, okay, why did we announce that to the ASX? We kind of had to, but there's always a bit of discretion. Or at one point as well, we got a letter from the FDA in 2015 or something saying, please stop selling your software whilst we review it. And if we'd stopped selling software back then, that would have meant, our revenues would have been flat or going down. You can't go into a listing with that. So
this is pre-FDA approval?
This is pre-listing.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to do, get those kind of letters, you're not in a good spot for a few days, right?
Yeah.
Or we're coming up to ASX listing, end of December, our VP sales and marketing left in America. Again, not a good spot. But I think a lot of these things nowadays, I go to bed, I know I'm not going to sleep, but you kind of know that the next day it's going to get better. There's always ways out of stuff. There's always anything that's bad, there's always opportunities.
Did you seek counsel? Did you have mentors for yourself?
I've mentors, but not particularly. And again, Troy, I think for me, I always I do internalize a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I like to internalize stuff. I like to think my way through things. I like to learn how to do it myself.
Yeah.
So I don't read any one-on-one books about running businesses or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's just not me. But I'll do stuff and I'll learn as I go. And part of that then is not really. I don't really talk to a lot of people. About these things. I like to work it through, and then once it starts to clear a bit, then I'll go and talk, say, with Dave Murray about the FDA aspect, because he's been through a lot of FDA stuff. Or I'll go to someone like Mike Brady, who's an eternal optimistic character, and we'll talk about a science issue, and he'll say, "Okay, that's a good point. Why don't we try da 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 da?" And then there's always views, and I remember, there's always opportunities, like with the FDA one, they actually let us go back, engage with the FDA. We worked out how we could keep selling. It was a different version of the software. But then equally, we worked out how we could engage with the FDA to get a greater clearance from what we already had. It was like, okay, actually, there's an opportunity here to actually get ahead of the market and so on. So, there's always those moments. But, what's the saying? If it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger, yeah.
How did you teach yourself to be a CEO?
By doing it. Basically, I never thought I really would do it, but...
Are you a natural leader?
I didn't think so, no. But, when I did a PhD, I was very kind of work on my own, all that stuff. But when I was doing a PhD, I started to get involved in running football teams. And there was one club in Oxford, it was half a men's team, really. We took that to 2 men's teams and 3 women's teams, or 3 men's teams, 2 women's teams, over a couple of years. I did that, and as I did that, I realised actually I can lead, I can organise and stuff like that. But I've always been more comfortable doing all the organisation, doing the strategy, thinking behind it, and then having someone alongside me to do all the talking.
Yeah.
But then obviously later on, I've learnt to do some of the talking. I've learnt not to swear every other word and all that kind of stuff.
I never learnt that.
So, yeah. But I guess I've grown into it, and I think one of the things, going back on strengths, is I am very organised, and when I get involved in startups, I like to be very organised, and I like to structure stuff. So we always have good boards that functioning, they're not dysfunctional, and they're organised in the minutes.
What's the diversity of the board look like to you? What's a good board look like in terms of the skill sets that they're bringing?
I do take the viewpoint that the board has to change on the journey. So, for example, I'm involved with Lit Maps along the road here, which is all about accelerating impactful science, and that's a great kind of mission-led project again. There we have myself and Peter Lee on the board, so kind of very kind of light board. I do all the minutes, I do all the actions, so that the guys here can actually do their work. But if you come in now and look at Lit Maps, you'll say, wow, they are very well structured. They're covering off IP, health and safety. They're really making sure that any shareholder announcements are clean and totally back upable. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But then as we grow, we will bring on new people. So at Volpara, John Hood was an excellent chairman because of his international connections. But equally, I'm sure John will tell you this as well. John didn't really know medical, so he was great for his international networks. But then it was time, especially when it comes to ASX listing. He was in New York. You needed a chairman in Australia, so Roger Allen stepped up to be chairman. And then we started bringing on people like Monica Sani, who's a radiologist, because we wanted clinical input at a board level. Or we brought on a lady over in America who was a information security expert, because we were starting to get worried about information security and PHI and patient data, that kind of stuff. So to me, then boards, I guess almost a good board is one that recognises when it needs to change and when it needs to move and so on. And again, not perhaps a popular view. A kind of a later stage, I think you can have a lot of diversity, at board level.
Yeah.
But I think early on, if you have too much diversity, too much different thinking, then the CEO just ends up going around in circles because he's got 10 different things to think about.
Yeah.
You actually want early on a board which is unified and there's got a very clear kind of joint vision about where things go.
Yeah.
So I think for me, diversifying thinking comes in a bit later, but you don't want to be swamping the CEO with 10 different thought sets.
Yeah. Zero to one, you've got a mission, right? You just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself, well, there's probably a good time to talk about, obviously, some recent news with Volpara. So obviously, you're here today. I saw you speak recently in a chat where you talked about how Volpara has been successfully acquired just recently. Can you talk us through that process?
Yep, I can. And so obviously Volpara got up to 40% market share in the US. And there's about 80 people here and 80 people over in the US. So we've become a very big US company, basically. And we acquired 2 American companies along the way. Again, ASX gave us access to that capital to actually become an acquirer.
Yeah, as a Kiwi acquiring American companies, so great.
I know, and you talked earlier about what makes you proud. Going and buying a spin out from MIT in Boston. Yeah, that was good, and so that was all great, and but Volpara always recognised that we had in the breast AI space. We had say 60% of it, and there was 40% of new product that we needed, and we didn't want to touch that area over there because we'd seen companies spend tens of millions trying to do it. So somehow we kind of needed this other thing called computer-aided detection, breast CAD. And as it transpired, there's a South Korean company that's got that kind of breast CAD, and what they were looking for was all the other stuff and US distribution. So in some ways, Lunit really got attracted to Volpara because of the technology and the products and the revenue, but also because we had such an outstanding US sales team. So that led into, the initial discussion was about distribution, and that led into sale. Now, I've kind of been out of it for about 6 or 9 months now, out of Volpara. So that was led by very well by Terry Thomas and Craig Hadfield, the CFO here in Wellington.
Craig's a great guy. He's good in the community, great for the industry.
No, exactly, yeah. But Troy, I will pick up something. You talked about news. Okay?
Yeah. And
we are both proud Wellingtonians.
Yeah.
I view this as a fantastic news for Wellington.
I agree.
It's $300 million. It's a lot of money going to come back into Wellington, get circulated in Wellington. People should be shouting about it to inspire the next generation of people coming through and so on. No newspaper coverage.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
So I see lots of bad news stories about Wellington, but there's been no coverage by...
Which is crazy to me, right? Because especially in a market like this, to inspire people to go out and say, look, there's a lot of people out there in the government sector, for example, at the moment, who are struggling to find a job because of the public sector cuts. And I speak to some of them and they're like, oh, I've had this idea for a while. And I'm like, well, go and do it. Like, you've got no job now anyway. You may as well have a crack at it. And they just, oh, no, there's lots of reasons why they won't do it. And I think there's a select few of people that are able to be entrepreneurs, right? To have that risk profile or whatever it may be, or just stupid enough, right?
One of the things I realised early on in life is, I worked for a big company for 6 months. You work hard and who are you working for?
Yeah.
It's like, who are the shareholders? What is that? So there's a desire to be entrepreneurial. Part of that is you want to work for yourself. You want to know, I'm willing to work 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I want to know who I'm working for.
There's some great news stories that have come out of Wellington and over the years recently, with acquisitions and this and that. And I think you're now another massive part of the ripple of what's going to come in the future because of the opportunities that you're creating for the Wellington SaaS scene and for what Wellington is trying to become now, which is more of a science, centre.
Yes.
And so I think if we were able to somehow see the data, in the future and see what's tracked from because of this, I personally think it's going to be phenomenal. But it's crazy that some people see this as like they're just worried about big companies coming over and taking over Wellington companies, right? And so, which is ridiculous.
No, and I've been very pleased with the way it's gone so far, and they certainly at the moment at least seem to be employing more people here.
Well, I own one of the most successful SaaS recruitment companies, and I haven't seen a single person from Volpara come to mind. And there you go. And Troy, part of my kind of ambition now is I see now in Wellington you've got this, there's kind of quite a diverse ecosystem. You've got a bunch of scientists, you've got a bunch of angel investors, you've got a great hospital up the road with a lot of kind of ideas. You do have entrepreneurs here as well looking for ideas, and then investors as well, like Movac and VC. Yep. One of my jobs is to try and link up all this stuff, and so we sponsor something called the Glean Report. I'm not sure if you read that. Kind of summarises all the science talks in Wellington each week, so which are open to the public, so people get to know about the science. And part of my aim, really, in doing that, is to start to build up this ecosystem, and not to have these scientists just doing great research, but actually starting to say, okay, this stuff is great for lung cancer or breast cancer, and you know what? I'm going to take it all the way through and actually make it work in clinical practice. Yeah. So that's part of my kind of mission in life now. That's a bloody good mission. Can you talk about the dollar figure that Volpara sold for?
It sold for 300 million New Zealand dollars. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of shareholders.
Yeah, of course, but. Can we just take a minute to say, if you'd asked me, like in 2014, 2009, right, when you set it up, same year my daughter was born, right? I was made redundant that year because of the GFC. Set up a company myself. If you'd asked me, hey, is there going to be, a science SaaS company that's going to sell for $300 million, I would have said no. And now you've just proven the model. Now you've proven that it can work here, that you can take things globally, that Kiwis can go out and acquire American companies, that you can do anything from here. So I think that mission and helping to teach that mission is super important and is going to be phenomenal for the GDP of Wellington in the future.
I hope so. And so do you reckon we'll get in the Dominion Post or?
Yeah, well, hopefully. I was pretty sure there was going to be an article coming out, and I'm waiting for it. And it's pretty skinny, the Dominion Post these days, though.
Yeah, that's true. No, so, but I totally agree. And I always remember as well, up in Wellington, most offices have great views of the harbour. I always remember talking to people, and you can be quite insular, but look out the harbour and the stunning views and the mountains, and it kind of gives you that global perspective. It's like, oh my God, you can just see the whole world here. It's like, and you just have to recognise, you can do it from here.
So what's next for you? Would you do a product again yourself, or are you just happy to play from the sides now and support?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of consulting work for a few companies, medical companies around, and that's okay. But again, I've kind of recognised that if I do something, I tend to, failure is not an option. So I tend to get
too caught up in it.
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying working with Litmaps, just along here. They've got 500k of ARR now. They've got real traction, and they've got a great mission of accelerating impactful science. So that's kind of 1.5 days a week. And I'm probably their biggest super user now because I'm also doing lots of basic breast cancer research.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big kind of gap in breast cancer at the moment, which is, or not just breast cancer, but just in breast health, where over the last 50 years, people understood this part, and this part, but no one's really put forward yet the whole breast journey from sort of how it develops, what happens during sort of puberty and then pregnancy and then menopause, what happens if you take HRT. So there's a lot of kind of basic research about changing the breast over time. And part of that is the hope that if we can understand what normal is, then you can start to judge what abnormal is, and perhaps you can start to flag up very early signs of breast cancer or risk. So I'm enjoying Litmaps. I'm enjoying doing this kind of real basic breast cancer research, and I'm working up 2 or 3 other ideas as well. And I'm getting involved with Victoria as well up the road, and hope to get in there and start teaching some students and stuff.
Yeah.
And try to inject into Victoria a bit of like what I saw at Oxford, which was, commercialisation is a dirty word, through to everyone has to be doing commercialisation. It's fun and it's dynamic and it's exciting, but also terrifying.
Is your technology available to everyone in New Zealand?
The Volpara breast cancer screening software is used in 40% of the US.
Yeah.
It's used right over breast screen South Australia. It's used over breast screen Queensland. I believe they've now signed a deal with Victoria as well. There's a country missing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe one day it will be used by Breast Screen New Zealand, and we'll see.
Well, this is a message to them, hey?
So, yeah.
The companies obviously acquired you and the ability now. This means that you can really be the company now just trying to solve breast cancer.
So certainly the combined company is incredibly powerful. The amount of AI engineers, the amount of data they've got, the amount of market presence because of Volpara in the US is staggering.
Yeah.
So they've got the firepower and the technology. They should go on now to dominate that whole space.
What would you say to someone right now who's in the sort of research or science field, thinking about going and following your path? What would be the sort of the key things that you'd want them to know before they start that?
If for an academic, just in general, I think people have to realise, 1, commercialisation is not a dirty word, and two, if you want your ideas used for good throughout the world, then often you can't just publish it. Often you are the believer in this. You're the one that has to step out and take it through, because at various points along that journey, your belief or the company will be tested beyond belief, and you have to have that really good understanding of, this is the right thing to do, this is the right way of doing it, and so on.
Yeah.
So recognition, commercialisation, not a dirty word, and if you want your ideas out there, you're going to have to go out there and actually do it. And then kind of related to that is, it is a scary, terrifying, exhilarating ride. But you know what? There's lots of people around now that have done it. There's lots of investors around who are or appear to be very good at taking science and driving it all the way forward. I mean, every time I read about Open Star, right? I mean, amazing journey, and I can also guarantee part of that is having come to Outset Ventures, wrapped around them, supporting them and telling them what to do. So you should recognise it's not. When we did first company in Oxford, it was quite a lonely journey, but nowadays there are people around that have done it, and you might have to spend big money to get these people, but they are going to hold your hand, and they are going to make that journey a lot easier for you.
Yeah, and Wellington, New Zealand is a really attractive place to bring people to, that come from like deep learning, R&D, AI topics. Like when I used to do all the recruitment for 8i back in the day when I was trying to find all the best video compression algorithm scientists in the world at one stage. And New Zealand's a great place to come to. It's you can attract people. That's hard, but you can attract them here.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm actually doing a deck at the moment for another company, and part of it talks about advantages of being in New Zealand, sustainable software engineers for the long run. But the other one is
when you say sustainable software engineers, you mean Kiwis. We don't burn ourselves out so much because we're able to sustain, the same company for a longer time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect of this is the ability to track AI engineers that aren't going to cost you $300,000 US. That there seems to be a lot of high quality AI people around. They all want to work on a mission as well. Especially in Wellington, you can go work for the government, or you can come and work on breast cancer and try and save people's lives. We always found it easy to attract AI people, and I do think that's an advantage of New Zealand.
Yeah, nice.
Being able to do that.
Yeah, awesome. And do you think, like, obviously the Microsoft sort of ecosystem helped you guys?
I remember some of the early days. We were on the cloud Azure. Probably like everyone else, we had zero idea of the cost of goods.
Yeah.
Like zero.
Yeah.
And Microsoft did help us drive down the cost of goods. And they help us, remember as well, they brought over a team of 10 or something into the office to help us with certain problems that we wanted to solve. So yeah, they've been very supportive over the years with, Azure credits, with technical support, right the way through to PR. And obviously, Volpara won the Microsoft Healthcare Partner of the Year award a couple of years ago. And that was, I think, an outstanding achievement. And it was great again to see Microsoft backing a Wellington company, but also backing a company doing good, i.e. breast cancer and saving lives.
Thank you for everything you've done. It's amazing to see people start in Wellington and stay in Wellington. And it's because it's really easy to have a great idea. Wellington supports you at an early stage. Like Reader and Grow Wellington and Wellington NZ and everyone, all the subsidiaries are really great, Creative HQ, and they give you a boost. And then a lot of people take that boost and run, and we lose the people employed here. We lose the follow-on effect. And so I think it's thanks to companies like yours that make my life easier, with the ecosystem and attract people from around the world so that we have the smarts and the skills. And then by default, if a company gets sold, some extra cash to throw back into the next wave of businesses as well. So fucking good on you, mate. Question from the previous guest, which I think is pertinent for you actually, is he is in a company at the moment that he's founded, second-time founder. He has, first time he founded a company was 18. That company was Silver Stripe in Wellington, right, and had a really wild ride, went really well. Second time, he's now got kids, and so he's really struggling with the balancing act of having a family and pursuing his startup. And so he said to ask the next guest what their take on how do they balance that, having a family and having a startup at the same time, and can they give me some advice?
For me, like I said, I think you do need a supportive family, you need a supportive partner, but I just set those rules around the kids like I talked about.
Yeah. Did you talk to your partner about like what was going to happen?
I did, yeah, because we've been through it before. I knew that as soon as we started it, from day one, I knew as soon as we said, right, we're going to do this, I knew it was going to be full on.
You seem like that type of guy, though, so I assume she would have known that anyway.
Yeah, and I think she probably did, but we certainly did discuss it. But I think one of the key things for us has just been setting down rules. If the kids, if I see if the kid ever looks at me, I'm always going to smile at them. I'm not going to say I'm too busy or I'm too tired, or I'm always going to smile at them.
Yeah.
Or if they come in the office, I'm always going to smile at them. And I always loved dropping them off at school. That was my job every day. Walk them down, drop them off.
Yeah.
I'm sure they missed out on quality time along the way, but then we also have had great holidays. Yeah. And also, especially when you're CEO, or actually just startups in general, right? You have a flexible lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, okay, look, we're going to go to Australia for 2 weeks. We're going to go and I'll work on the way. It doesn't. Let's go and do exciting stuff, but I'll work in the evenings and stuff like that, because you can do that in a startup. That's the joy of startups.
Do you think your kids will have bitten the bug?
I don't know. And it touches on Troy. One of the interesting things for me is in my first startup, in Oxford. There was me and there was 3-4 other PhDs, and I always remember we brought on this guy, this business development guy called Peter Taylor, who was a very down to earth working class guy, but he knew the US. I always remember he said, "You're going to be CEO because you're the one who can't afford to lose everything." Because I'd come from a working class background with no money, and these other kids were kind of from kind of rich back. So I look at my kids now. I'm trying to work out how to keep them grounded and eager to change the world.
Yeah,
and not be soft and not be not sit back. I do remember Danny did say the other day or the other week said something like, "Oh, Mummy, I'm getting this from you, and I'm getting ambition from Daddy." And I was like, "Oh,
that's good.
That's probably good."
Yeah, that's a good word.
So
I think we're all fucking up our kids in some aspect, just hopefully way less than what our parents fucked us up in.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you probably agree. I mean, whatever experiences you have as a kid, I mean, that is who you are.
Yeah. So
everyone has bad luck stories, but those things make you.
And I think if your kids see the journey as well, not just the end, like if they're old enough to remember the journey and see you going through the hard times and grinding, then they respect that aspiration, right, and that motivation. Is there something that you'd want to ask the next guest?
Do I get to know who the next guest is?
Janine Granger from Easy Crypto. She founded that Easy Crypto platform in Auckland. Have you met her?
I've not met her. I've seen some of the LinkedIn posts about that. So ask her at what point I should buy some crypto.
All right, yeah. She'll say 20 years ago or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting world, the crypto world. It's not one I dabble in too much myself.
No, again, to be honest, well, there's a lot of stuff like crypto, or at the moment I'm dealing, I am kind of left-leaning and green by heart, but at the moment we're fighting developers who are trying to build tower blocks up the road.
Yeah.
It's such an unproductive use of time, and dealing with finances and cryptos goes into that unproductive use of time. For me, I want to be focused on productive stuff like solving breast cancer or lung cancer or multiple sclerosis. That's kind of where I want to spend the time.
Excellent. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everything that you've done again. Hopefully the newspapers and the media picks up what a success this is for little old Wellington, and shouts the fucking hell out of it, because I hope that every one of those 90 people in Wellington feels so proud of this moment and just taps themselves on the back for everything that they've done.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right, so that was phenomenal. I absolutely love that chat. There's a couple of people I'm talking to right now, and so I'm looking directly down the camera. I'm talking to you, Breast Green New Zealand. What the hell? All right, we have this fantastic, amazing employer of 90 Wellingtonians that now potentially has the biggest market share in the world with the best breast screening technology. Why aren't you using it? I'm talking to you, Wellington Media. Where are you to sing the praises of our heroes, to share these success stories? This is what we're trying to do with these podcasts, is we're trying to show these wonderful human beings that have taken like the most amazing ideas and turn them into the most amazing companies and products in the world, to show that it's possible and to help celebrate the success stories. And so Dominion Post, to everyone else in the Wellington Media, let's share the success of Ralph and Volpara and every single person that's worked across this business, and really get it out there and show everyone what's possible. And for everyone else that just, that this is what we do on the podcast here. Jono and I are just absolute fucking crazy cheerleaders of this industry. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. Now's your time to jump down, hit follow, hit subscribe, and strap in and join us on this wild ride further.
This podcast is produced by Jono Tucker from Empire Films.